Be ye lamps unto yourselves, be your own confidence. Hold to the truth within yourself, as to the only lamp.
Hi, this is Dancing Rabbit, and welcome to another Saturday Pagan Perspective. It's been kind of nice having a break, getting some time to rest, do other stuff, be away from YouTube a little bit, and come back with a little fresh energy. I'll be doing all of January's videos this same afternoon, so that explains why the clothes are the same and the background and the weather are kind of all the same. Today's question, really two specific questions that have to do with when to do magic. The first one, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce this, but the end of it is Faye Suzanne, says, I have a question, assuming it has not been asked yet. Should you perform magic when you feel like it or on a schedule like holidays? I'm just not feeling it, but when I see someone in need, I feel a rising in me, and I can push out so much energy. I guess my focus is on healing, but it still stands. After a while of doing it on a schedule, does it seem to dampen your interest in practice instead of letting it flow freely? Well, Suzanne, I didn't become a pagan in order to follow a rigid schedule. I mean, there's enough rigid schedules out in normal life, mundane life, without creating yet another one. Yes, I know the Wiccan pagan liturgical calendar of the 8 Sabbaths is a sort of schedule. And if you want to talk about the Esbats, the full moon rituals that are done more for magical working, that's kind of the schedule too. But these are not schedules that are supposed to be imposed upon us, you know, like a work schedule or a school class schedule that you have to meet. These are natural cycles, and by synchronizing what we're doing with them, we get back in touch with the natural universe, with the goddess, the gods, and so forth, and that's what paganism is about. So I don't usually do magical workings, particularly following the solar calendar. The group that Feather and I work with do quite often do some magical workings at our rituals because we don't meet on full moons, and so that would be kind of the only time to do it. But most of the solar festivals, the Sabbaths, I see more as celebration and worship of the gods than a time to work magic. The magic working is traditionally centered around the lunar cycle, the Esbats, but again, I don't think that you have to wait till full moon or new moon or first quarter or whatever to do something. You get a little more of a boost if you're manifesting, drawing to you, producing something during the waxing moon, from new moon to full moon. You get a little more energy if you do the banishing, weeding out, getting rid of stuff type work in the waning moon, from full moon to new moon. But I really think that you ought to do magic when you need to do it. You shouldn't necessarily wait until the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars, and most of you are not old enough to remember the song that I'm quoting. But my point is that do magic when you need to do it. You don't have to wait until a special time, although there is some advantage to magical timing if it's not something pressing. And yes, I do kind of feel like it's a little draining to me to try to follow a rigid schedule, and most of the time I don't seem to be very good at it. Okay, the second question, and I'm kind of dodging the sunbeams because the sun's coming through the clouds here. Okay, from Witches for the Win. I would like to ask about feelings from, and that's within little starry quotes, from the goddess and the god. Sometimes I feel almost ashamed when I can't perform a ritual on a Sabbath or an Esbat, or I forget to do a certain meditation, etc. Should I feel embarrassed? Should the Lord and the Lady be upset with me? How could I make up for the lost practice? Thanks for listening. I know that witchcraft is centered around your belief, but I still can't shake the feeling. Well, I have several strong opinions on that. I don't believe that that witchcraft or paganism is centered around belief or necessarily feeling. I think it's centered around practice. That we are an orthopraxic, not an orthodox, and not necessarily a particularly mystical faith, though there are mystical elements to paganism, and there are, belief elements to it, but we're mainly about doing. Feeling ashamed. I think if you're coming into paganism from a Christian background, particularly fundamentalist Christian, I know that Catholics may get into the guilt thing too some, but as a recovering fundamentalist Christian, I had a huge guilt load, which I was really happy that paganism did not reimpose upon me. If you can't make a ritual because something came up, or you don't really feel like it, or you just forgot, I don't think that the gods get upset with us. I think they have a lot more important things to do than get mad at you because you missed a ritual, or you didn't meditate, or you didn't do an altar devotion, or a prayer, or whatever. I think that paganism is not about guilt trips. We don't have an angry God who is mad at us because we have screwed up somehow or another. We have loving parents who want us to mature and to grow up, to take responsibility for our actions. And so we don't have to run around feeling guilty or embarrassed or ashamed because we didn't practice our paganism as well as a book said we should, or somebody else did, or as well as we think we should or we want to. Do the best you can, and if you don't do all that well, then you try to do a little better next time. But I don't think that you ought to force it, and certainly you shouldn't feel guilty. Now, obviously, if you're able to spend time meditating every day, you will probably have a better relationship with the gods than if you only meditate once a year. I mean, it's kind of like physical exercise. If you work out every other day, you'll probably see more getting in shape than if you exercised once a month or just sort of every once in a while. I mean, that's just kind of the way it is. We have a relationship with our gods, and just like a relationship with a person, the growth of the relationship depends on spending time together. Now, ideally this is quality time, not just time, but you can't develop a relationship with someone if you don't spend some kind of time interacting with them. But again, I don't see the gods getting upset with us, or being angry, or feeling bad, getting their feelings hurt because we missed a meditation or two or three. When you see yourself doing that, maybe look at why it happened and see if you can do something else, do something different. Maybe the kind of meditation you're trying is not really something that fits you well. Or maybe meditation, period, is not what fits you well. Something else. And there are lots and lots of something else's. What works for you may not work for me. And I think we do ourselves and paganism a real disservice by trying to impose some kind of rigid exercise program on each other and on ourselves. Okay, I think I maybe answered your questions a couple of times, but that's what I thought about. So I'm going to shut off the camera and take a look at the second question, which is much, much longer and a little more open-ended, and see what I can come up with about it. So till next week, Dancing Rabbit, wishing you all peace.